Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. We are here for a special episode of our Seregen campaign. As you can see, we are in session 84.5 because we are doing one of our very rarely done one-shot sessions, and we are joined today by Ulrich, the Vampire Paladin.
Hello.
So,
how's everyone doing?
Welcome in, everyone. I hope you're well. So ultimately, Ulrich missed last session, so we are getting close to the end, and I wanted to make sure he had the opportunity to kind of make it up if he had the time to, and we managed to fit it in. So first of all, Shade, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. For running out of one shot.
Yeah, I think you've got the record for one shots too. Let's see.
I tend to have the most hectic schedule, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say you're the person that's attended the least, but you definitely have had the opportunity to make up some campaign sessions, though. Like with last time was like when you were captured by the barbarians and whatnot. We had a good old time with that with the Axe Clan. But that was back in 2022, July of 2022, if you can believe it.
I don't believe that year existed.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, for sure. So, so anyway, so welcome everyone. Hope you're well, and we'll get started here with the session. So, that being said, let's try and think here. So, what do you last remember from the campaign?
I do remember the 21st of September, and then also from the campaign. Last time we pushed through the rabble to a meetup with Marius. We talked with Marius about just kind of like what we had gone through, what we did. I talked a little bit about, hey, why are some of the other soldiers being rather snooty towards me, subbing me a little bit. Told Marius about our allies, and we left off really just not having a real concrete plan of next steps, but knowing that we're going to have to make our way to try and draw out a fight and keep it as far from the home as we can. And also, of course, to live up to our deal to try and help the Bronze Clan and the Barbarians.
For sure. So, yeah, I think you were also directed to go visit Carl, who we found out at the end of your last session was in the army in a patchwork wagon. And that he knows magic, so maybe he'd be able to figure something out with the group. So that's kind of where we left off, with the group kind of heading off that way. And frankly, once Zippo and Yarvik both heard Carl was in the army, they came kind of rushing into kind of, be a part of that. So fairly quickly into the session, the group was made whole again. There was no interaction between Jordan and Zippo. Jordan was greeted by Brunhild. Zippo outright ignored Jordan and went right into Carl's. So at least it didn't. There weren't fireworks, but definitely still kind of cooking there, right? So.
Well,
go ahead.
Carl might sell fireworks another time.
Right. Yeah. So the group went into Carl's and basically discussed quite a few things with Carl. Um, some of which you'd probably be better asking the group about, but ultimately some of the bigger things is uh, Carl was pretty interested in the portal, since he specializes in teleportation magic, as evidenced by his shop, being able to go different places within the city. And also,
Yeah.
the when the group entered the wagon, they were in his shop. So it seems like his shop is now portable in the wagon, in the space that the wagon has, which is much smaller than his shop. So, um, yeah, ultimately, the group kind of, with Carl's kind of questioning and things, kind of figured out a bit more about how the portal might have worked, and basically Carl's fairly certain that the tear is a similar portal to the portal that happened in Licht, in terms of it would take a great amount of energy and potentially the sacrifice of a living creature or creatures in order to open a tear of that magnitude. Because like the small portals that you found uh, took presumably 5 people, right? So Carl guesses that it's some great amount of energy or sacrifice happened, and deduced that it must have happened on the abyss side, not the Renovar side, because of how it opened up and where the demons came from. Right, there wasn't really any evidence of people on your side of the portal before it opened up.
Right.
Um,
Could I ask a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Did anyone ask Carl how many people he's sacrificing to accomplish his little trick?
They did not.
Sorry, I wasn't there.
Well, you could ask that if you'd like.
I mean, I kind of feel like I don't know entirely, whether I'm going to be filling in gaps of things that happen in other scenes that exist already, or if I'm filling in a moment where Ulrich wandered off.
I mean, it's going to
So
be a
if
little
it's
bit
the
of both,
latter,
I would say. I would allow some interaction with Carl that we can kind of uh, talk through in the group when we update them on what happened on your end. But
let's
yeah, some questions would be fine. I would say also there's probably going to be a point where the group's kind of getting over your head in terms of discussion about magics, and you
sure.
might decide to go and finish your conversation with Marius that you were having last
Right.
session, especially with the group not present at that point.
Right.
But yeah, if you have a question or two to ask Carl, I can definitely respond to
I
those.
think I think during, maybe let's just say that it was during a moment while folks are, looking at the items or conversing with each other, but aren't immediately chatting with him, with Carl.
Okay.
Ulrich will discreetly ask whether, essentially, so if the tear takes a sacrifice of some sort, that's obviously a pretty powerful uh, kind of portal magic. You are clearly doing a pretty, you got something that's pretty impressive here with the portable shop. And heck, I mean, even I've come across some other things that are sort of like this, well, kind of pocket dimensions, let's call them. Pocket spaces. Uh, did it take an amount of sacrifice to achieve this?
Time, for sure. Many of the things that my shop is capable of is through the dedication of years of casting the same spells over and over until they stuck.
I see. So it required a lot of years of preparation, a little time, any rosemary, maybe sage.
Yeah, time is the biggest sacrifice for sure. Potentially, other things, but never something like what you and your friends described. These portals the demons are creating. No, there are other ways to create portals, but it seems like these beings of chaos have other designs for how to accomplish them. And maybe that's the only way they're capable of doing it. I can't see a demon dedicating time and attention to study, if you catch my drift.
That is fair. That's all I had for him.
Okay. Yeah, the demon. Sorry, the demon. The group. Hi, Wizarder. Welcome in. We're currently running a D&D session. But feel free to watch and whatnot. I won't be responding as much in chat during D&D, but I appreciate you being here. Talk kind of turns to a few things regarding whatnot, but you feel like the group's kind of got it handled at this point. Even Yarvik seems to be coming up with a few ideas and is fairly animated in the conversation. So with that, you kind of wordlessly leave, and knowing that the group has rings if they need to contact you or if they're wondering where you're going. I assume you head back to Marius.
Yeah, that makes as much sense to occupy my door.
If there's anything else you'd like to do other than Marius, that's fine. But I assume that that's one of the things.
No, for sure. I think Ulrich is in a moment of uncertain, not anxiety, but sort of impatience. It's very much okay. We need to figure out what to do, and it kind of feels like in some respects it's a hurry up and wait, sort of like we can't go rushing in. We need to really think about this, but we need to think about it fast. And he doesn't really feel that Carl's is going to have a lot more for him. Mm-hmm. And while Marius is going to represent kind of his past, it's better than talking with his cousin. It's better than sitting and doing nothing. And Marius can also sort of represent his future because he's uncertain if he's going to succeed in his personal aspirations, but he'll need Marius on his side. And more importantly, he needs to. Marius is the Aegis for the country he loves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, some of this, what I'm gleaning of the hurry up and wait kind of mentality. There's a few things kind of pulling at you. Most recently, the possessed person said TikTok to you, so that kind of put a chill in you. Then you've been kind of sitting and licked for 7 days, kind of waiting for the army to get here. So ultimately, I could see that being, you've had to feed twice since you've arrived because you've been sitting here, right? There's
Right.
part of you that's kind of less patient and wants more action now, and then there's part of you that's like, days don't really have the meaning that they once did. So,
Right.
yeah. All right. Well, you return to Marius's tent, and you are granted entry. Marius seems to be back from addressing things with the nobles from earlier conversation, and is kind of measuring maps based off of the map that you provided him from the Axe clan that you stole. He's got that kind of paired with the map that he has of Seregen, and is kind of trying to chart how long it might be and things like that, right? So,
Right. Right. Need
Ulrich.
a hand with that?
Yes. So
yeah, I go over and.
So yeah, you can see that he's kind of written some notes, and he's got the number 30 circled. And he has kind of three dots, or three little figurines that are kind of centered on Licht right now. Potentially those are the three thirds of the army, right? And they're all in Licht at the moment. You see that he's kind of using 30 as a quantitation for how much food he's going to need. Like you see like different modifiers times by the number 30 in his notes and things like that. He's really thinking through what it's going to take in order to cross the continent with an army of 3,000 people.
Yeah, it's no easy task. That's for sure.
And the straighter the shot, the less chances you have of meeting places where you can fill up, right? So,
yeah.
He basically asks you to provide insight as to the best route to the tear. Like, what's the most direct? What's the best route, even if it's not direct, for like refilling and things like that.
Yeah, Ulrich will certainly do his best to try and provide what he believes to be the best route.
Okay. What do you think the best route would be, I guess, if you're looking at the map?
So, I mean, it would really just kind of be like, because we're coming from Licht.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it would just kind of just be a direct march. I do recall, obviously there's some perils here, but Ulrich's not really in a hurry to take them that way, and cutting through here is going to pass through some forest. It's better to walk along the wall path direct and cut up left, or sorry, to the northeast, in Ulrich's opinion.
Okay. And the thought process is not passing through the Black Clan or the Bronze Clan lands where the dinosaurs may be, but kind of cutting across through that valley that you pass through with a bridge above it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Just because Ulrich does feel, Black Clan is kind of a risky from what we know of them.
Sure.
And, Braun's plan, passing through there is great, but retracing our steps more. I think that's the other thing, is like trying to retrace their steps rather than finding new paths. If that makes sense.
For sure, yeah. He kind of rubs his head for a minute and puts his pencil down, and he says, I just don't know if this is a wise plan. I have my doubts, Ulrich.
I mean, hey, we could turtle up. We could just try and shore up our borders and our defenses. Of course, I'll point out that at least one, our primary enemy right now can just kind of pop up wherever the fuck he wants. So, shoring up our defenses is only going to go so far, right? At a certain level, we need to take them back.
Yes, but perhaps I should clarify. I think one of my biggest misgivings is the fact that we're committing our entire force to this cause. I worry about what we'll come back to.
I mean, sorry, I suppose I want to just clarify something here. Yes, it's our entire assault force, but surely there are still some who remain in the city to enforce law and order.
As much as I could spare, but
right.
I mean, you've seen the towns across the nation already are fairly sparse. Draft definitely did not become a popular motive. And frankly, leaving some of the lower generals in charge while I'm away and the nobles are away, what happens if something happens here? Or if a greater force comes, or even more so, what if we come back and someone else is in control of the country? Another shadow figure, for example.
Yeah, I think at that Ulrich's blood boils as much as it can these days, so to speak. Maybe his stomach gurgles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds probably more likely. And Ulrich will say,
I mean, if there's another shadow ruler, another despot, then I will deal with him as I did with the last one.
I don't want to let it get to that point.
I agree. Excuse me. I agree, but the way I see it is you can either half-ass something or you can really throw yourself into it. And right now, we have a threat that goes beyond anything. I mean, the potential destruction that the demons can bring to us outweighs anything that the Civil War did. You think the brothers And all the infighting in our kingdom really amounted to a death toll. Imagine something that has no regard for our lives at all. At least with the princes, they wanted to, maintain as much as they could, because what is a king without a people?
And say we all die in the battle, aren't the demons getting exactly what they wanted?
Well, then we all fucking would have died separated too. I don't mean to be mean here, Marius, but yeah.
And I am not having qualms about personally sending troops. I think it is necessary. You've raised the point. If why would I march all the way out here if not? What I am concerned about is going myself.
Okay.
And yes, part of it is worrying that I might not return, but also worrying about what happens should I not return. I've been propping up this kingdom for these past months. What happens when you remove the prop? And quite frankly, me not going removes any claim that the people might have of eligibility of me maintaining the throne. I have implemented this rule that you must serve in this war to be eligible to succeed the throne. If I don't attend the war, then by default, I cannot maintain it.
I mean, yes, Marius, I understand what you're saying there, and if it is better in your mind that you return to the capital, then trust your judgment. You're in the position you're in because you are an effective leader, because you have served the crown and its people. You should value your own judgment. I do not know how this will go. And I fear, tell me this, Marius. If you leave, who commands this military?
My generals and the nobles.
Yep, and they will report directly to who, or are they becoming a council?
It's a good point.
That's my concern here. You're talking about ruling and concerns with propping up everything, and I will tell you that the minute that you are out of sight is the minute that an upstart noble gets in his mind that he can circle around, say, you know what? Who's defending the kingdom? Men, let's leave in the middle of the night while everyone sleeps. Let's go back. Let's protect our kingdom. And by way of protecting, let's make sure that someone fit to rule is crowned. Hell, Marius, you should go back and maybe I'll execute that plan. He doesn't smile at that, but he tries to kind of give a not like a wink, but kind of like a I'm joking kind of look, kind of like a raised eyebrow. Wouldn't you want to face me on the battlefield? That'd be fun. Of course, I wouldn't do that. I would be smart enough to uh, keep a lookout for people who do that, because that's what I've done ever since the last war ended. I have continuously looked for betrayers to the crown. So it's kind of my job to think about these things.
Are you suggesting that I put you in charge?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, are you suggesting I put you in charge?
No. No. I mean, if you were to do that, you're going to end up with the same situation. In fact, it may happen even sooner.
That would have been
I
my
won't
point
pretend.
too. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And I won't pretend that, given the circumstances of everything that's come to pass, that I don't have an interest in the crown at this point. There's no sense in trying to deny that, Marius. Everything I'm doing has been for the effort to preserve the stability, what little there is, of our kingdom. Everything you've done has been to that same effort.
Is there deception in that?
I mean, I guess, like, so this is interesting because, like, I don't think that is a deceptive thing. That is really what Ulrich is trying. He wants to be a king, but in his mind, that is for the like he took the he tried to align with the Bronze Clan because it is way better to have them as allies,
Right.
because they are long-living, eternal, as far as Ulrich is concerned, dragons, and other peoples as well, but fucking dragons that will live for a very long time. They need to be on Seregen's side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And down south is literal immortals.
Yeah.
From people who would look at Seregen as food, and Ulrich became a vampire with the express, like, that was really out of the horror of, okay, yeah, this is as bad or worse than I could have ever imagined. And if this is going to be something that we now, that our kingdom will now forever have to contend with, we need an eternal figure of our own. And ideally, it is Ulrich as king, eternally serving to continue to maintain the prosperity of Seregen.
Okay. So to that vein, didn't you just say that you had no desire to be king, or did I mishear you?
No. He said, "I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
I of course am interested in
I
being
see.
king
Okay, so
at this point."
I'm negative to that. Got it. Okay, so that's why I thought
Okay.
that I'm tracking now. But good character insight there. See, but if I'm in the army and we do have folks that abandon and come back and we continue forward, the same thing occurs. Having someone at home delegitimizes that effort, unless they, of course, defeat me. In fact, them remaining with the army would be incentivized based off of the original decree, if you will.
I mean, I suppose it might be, but I guess what I wonder is, why would they leave? They have followed you this far. Why would they leave as soon as you cross the border?
Well, that's what you were suggesting, wasn't it?
Right, but I'm suggesting
Oh,
that because they look to you and they realize, yep, this is the de facto ruler right now, and they are adhering to your authority in that fashion. And I think that they may challenge that authority if you're out of sight. But perhaps I'm wrong. You make a good point that you're reinforcing that legitimacy being on in Jane being on the throne while the war is conducted. That is a solid point. I definitely see the rationale there. But I just feel like when you were coming up through the ranks, did you did you ever slack off?
he shakes his head.
Right. Why is that?
Reputation
Reputation. Right. And
and effort. With effort comes the lesson.
right.
You don't run an armor on your first wear.
Right. So you did this because you're really of good stock, frankly. Now there are other people that probably did slack off. Why do you think they slacked off? Some of your other uh, comrades.
Well, in my experience, there's plenty that are willing to do the bare minimum just to get paid. And
Yep.
nothing more.
Yep. That's absolutely true. And then there are others who would do the bare minimum if they didn't have superior officers keeping an eye on them.
This is true.
So, again, I just am pointing out while you're legitimizing your decree being on the crown or on the throne, the minute that you step out of sight, there are going to be individuals in this military at every level who are going to go, well, wait a second. Why am I not home? Why am I not in Jane? Why am I not taking the throne myself?
And see,
there is.
here's the thing. You raise an excellent point, he interrupts. But the same argument could be said for back home as well, for the throne itself. Ultimately, this is probably the 300th time since I've taken control of the kingdom that I've wished that I could be in multiple places at once.
Sure. But while that can be said, while that can be said about anyone who's still there, they're going to have to contend with a much larger military, presumably, the minute that it returns. And a bunch of angry nobles, and ideally you, Marius, who are going to go, what the hell are you doing? And they're going to have a really rough fight on their hands. Now you leave, you legitimize things, I get it. But again, I'm just going to point out, you're going to have people who are going to question whether they should remain and potentially want to break off. And you're also going to have, for those who do remain, a bunch of nobles and generals who are going to squabble over who's really in charge and what should be done. Right now, they look to one person for final decision, and that's you. And so our war efforts are going to be much easier if you remain.
Give me a roll 20, please.
Mm-hmm.
You are trying to do influence, so you're trying to persuade him to stay. I'd like to legitimize that with a roll. What is that for 5th edition? That's still diplomacy, correct? It's persuasion?
Persuasion,
yeah.
Which is 20 total.
Yeah, Marius seems to be coming around to your line of thinking. You raise a good point, Ulrich. I don't like it, but I've come this far. I might as well see it through. Hopefully, we don't come back to even more of a mess than this country already is.
Yep. That's the best we can do at this point. We need to throw our efforts in defeating this enemy and trying to maintain some sort of peace with our neighbors for now, and ensuring that as many of us get back as we possibly can.
So, any plans that you've worked out for how we can be the most effective against this force?
Frankly, our knowledge of our enemy is woefully lacking. We know they're demons. We know they can teleport and possess people, and they can open portals, and a lot of it has to do with sacrifice. We don't really have a good sense on a real desire, and as Roger would say, there's a lot of reason to map humanoid motives onto something like a demon.
What about weaknesses?
I don't really have a lot to say about that. A little bit of radiant certainly can help a bit. I know that there was some. Our little party was trying to figure out some stuff with holy water a little bit, but don't really have a specific fix.
Okay. Just good old-fashioned stabbing.
Yep. Stab it, bash it, slash it, spin it, bop it.
That's the language of my people, so that's what I shall speak.
Yep.
Thank you for stopping in, Ulrich. I think this conversation helped.
I'm glad to have been of help. I understand and appreciate your concerns. That's really good. I'm curious about something, if I may.
Go on.
And I ask that you speak honestly.
Why do people always ask this question before they ask the question?
Well, because sometimes people try to speak kindly and softly and not directly. You're a pretty direct person, but it's a difficult and rather vainglorious question that I have for you.
If I can answer it honestly, I will.
I appreciate it. Do you like the way that this beard looks? No, I'm kidding. That was to cut the mood. No, who would you see be king?
Well, there's a few good prospects. And ultimately, my opinion doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of this, as you know.
No, of course.
Well,
Of course.
I mean, you've done a lot for this kingdom, Ulrich. I just fear that not everybody knows how much you have done.
Of course. I suppose a better question for you is, would you be glad to see me crowned?
I would shed no tears of sadness.
Do you fully understand the situation that awaits us after we contend with this demon horde?
You have something in your vision. Feel free to define it.
Well, we enjoyed ignorance for untold years. Just pure bliss of the unknown. There's a wall. It's there. You die if you go through. That's it. And now we know what's on the other side. It doesn't exist anymore. And dragons exist. Giants exist, well, in a form. And vampires and all sorts of other undead abominations really exist. We don't have the safety of a barrier anymore. Our people will face now an eternity of worrying not only about our own petty little squabbles, but threats from beyond most of their comprehension. They're already dealing with it, with the demons, I know. But it doesn't end with the destruction of the demons. It continues. Marius, I'm going to confide something to you. And it may be a great mistake, but my good friend Roger's not here to shut me up. And I like to run my mouth. I have made several arrangements to try and broker peace everlasting with our neighbors. There is a part of me, because I enjoy, frankly, war. I enjoy conquest. Mostly for what comes after. And there's a part of me that would like to see those two lands conquered, brought under the rule of Seregen. To effectively reestablish that blissful ignorance peace that we held for so long with the wall. Which is to say, nothing beyond our borders could come for us. We were it. I can die in this war.
Uh-oh, you're starting to cut out again. Nope.
Can you hear me now?
It sounds like you're in a tunnel, but yes.
No idea why that would be.
You're back.
Okay. I could be struck down during this war. Someone could decide to take a blade to me in the middle of the night. You name it. It could happen. But at this point, old age will never take me. I have enacted safe measures to ensure that I will always be there to watch over Seregen. Quite literally, always.
What do you mean by that? Exactly.
I have already died, Marius. You stand before a dead man.
As he pauses to kind of look at you anew, I'm going to let Midna out. 1 sec.
Yep.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
All right. It's time for me to roll.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to need you to roll initiative, buddy. No, I was just kidding.
Yep.
Not yet, but...
I know. I'm making a big swing.
You are. Is there any role you'd like to do with this, or are you just kind of laying it all out and hoping for the best?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that. I think the next thing, his reaction would determine a role, right? Like
potentially. I mean, if you're trying to win him over before he protests, right? You've beat around the bush, and now you're kind of going in. Is there anything that you're trying to influence in terms of a reaction? Like or are you gonna let him kind of decide that candor first?
I mean, I feel like Ulrich would adapt rather than try. He knows what he's done is not necessarily going to be well loved in any stretch of the imagination. Right. And I don't think that he is like Ulrich is not a salesperson. He's not there to try and immediately convince someone of something. He's there to throughout this he's tried to be a mediator of peace or an enforcer of peace. One of those two things. Okay. So I think those are both pretty reactionary.
Yeah. I didn't peg you for one to flower words, Ulrich. So I'm surprised now that. What do you mean you're a dead man?
I mean what I said. I have died, and I am no longer dead. I also am no longer living. I have undergone a transformation.
He kind of stares at you like uncomprehendingly for a moment, and then all of a sudden you see the light bulb go off.
I am a vampire, Marius. Well, very nearly a vampire at this point. And I tell you this, not just because I like to run my mouth, as I joked a moment ago, but because I respect you. And I need you to understand the peril that could be on the horizon and the efforts that I have taken to ensure that peril does not happen.
You're a crazy son of a bitch, you know that?
Yes, I do. I'm reckless.
I thought it was odd that the vampires seemed to agree to a truce so easily. I suppose that was part of the deal.
More or less, yeah.
See,
now
I'm of two thoughts here. I know what the stories of vampires are, but I don't know the reality aside from the reputation you and your group have provided. But none of it was positive. Are you still you?
That is a very good question. I think that I am, but I recognize that there is an eagerness.
You are different, but you are very much the Ulrich I remember as well.
It's better when I'm less hungry.
What does that mean?
It means that if I'm well fed, I seem to have a better
And what does a dead
sense.
person feed on, Ulrich?
Death, I'm afraid. A dead person feeds on death. And I'm flowering my words here. But quite frankly, I have been long on the road, and you and I are no stranger to defending ourselves. We're no stranger to death. And as it happens, I now feed on that death.
It's one thing to eat a cow. Are the stories true about vampires? Do you truly... He doesn't even finish the word. He just kind of trails off.
I have drank the blood of 2 individuals, yes, at this point. Well, 3, sort of. But
when you couldn't remember the number, he kind of takes a step back at that point.
Sorry, let me explain that. The Vampire Queen was what I meant by 3, sort of. She gave me some of hers, effectively. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was part of it. That's part of how I was transformed. I don't know that I'll really count that, which is why I said it that way. I have, with good memory and accurate memory, fed on 2 people that were not vampires themselves.
And who were they?
A man who attacked me here in Licht tried to mug me, essentially. And an individual, a servant to the to Null, to the demons. Now that one obviously is a bit of a deception.
And that sigh was in character, if you could hear it.
Yeah. No, I could. Look, I'm telling you this, and you can do with it as you please. If you feel that I should be put to the end, I would only ask that you hear my my plea. If you feel that you can live with this knowledge and bear this secret, I would be glad to have your confidence. But when we spoke of the horrors in Nicaragua, I did not make the decision lightly. It is a terrifying land. And I don't want to say that this is not I want to be very clear. I maintain sense of my faculties here. But I'm trying to recall now if we really spoke to you about a rather important weakness of the vampire. Did we go over any of that?
Not quite.
Right. You know the stories, sunlight, right?
Yes.
Not anymore. That's why I'm walking around in the sun. It was, and it's not. They've disposed of that weakness.
Lovely. And these are... This is a good or a bad thing in your mind?
Well, in my mind, it's a frightening thing. In my mind, it's the kind of thing that could mean, hey, let's say we do win this war against demons. We now become a feeding pin for those fucking vampires. That's what my mind was on. But they have another curious nature. Striking contracts, making bargains, swearing oaths. Absolutely deadly for them. And I mean that literally.
So they're allergic to bureaucracy?
No. They find it to be deadly serious. But Vampire is very careful about the bonds and pacts that it makes. Because if it cannot uphold those pacts, and there are not clauses that allow for, exits from those pacts, they will cease to exist. They will die. Now, imagine, if you will, that you were confronted with this knowledge, that you knew that they were no longer to be defeated by sunlight, and that they maintain a kingdom that rivals our own. You might want to create a bond, a pact, an agreement with them as a kind of safeguard, wouldn't you?
Something that you did with your party.
Yes. Something that we did. And I took it a step further. I am very much tied to the Vampire Queen, and she is very much tied to me. And if we affront one another, we break that contract. I asked you earlier, what is a king without its people? And now I'll ask you, what is a people without its monarch? I have taken every measure I can to ensure that should Necrata ever try and attack Seregen, it will cost them dearly.
And what pledge will you make to Seregen, Ulrich?
I have to be very careful on how I phrase this. I need you to understand that.
Sleep on it. If you can.
I'll do what passes for sleep. But I need you to know that a man who loves his country, his kingdom, and the people therein enough to travel into hell and strike a deal with the devil is a man who will do anything for that kingdom. I hope that makes sense and answers your question a little bit.
My worry is that what you sacrificed will cause you to not be able to accomplish what you desire. You've killed 2 people from Seregen.
Oh, yes, you have never done that. Apologies for the rather flippant remark on my part. But are either of our hands clean in this nation?
No, you've killed quite a few people prior to this. And yes, they were both deemed enemies of you. But there is something different about you, Ulrich. And I sensed that even before you told me what you are. I think I'm going to circle back to an earlier part of the conversation and say, I got where I am by doing the work. You have done it. But I think there's more work yet to do. I don't know what to make of this. I'm shaken. But there's something in your speech that also has stirred something within me. I see why you've done this. Given the decisions that you had to make out there for the kingdom. But I can't, to be honest, it still scares me a bit. If you're looking for an answer for me now, I won't be able to give it to you.
Of course not. I would never presume you to have an answer now. But I did feel here in this moment of confidentiality that I should be upfront with you.
He nods. He doesn't thank you for this, but the words aren't lost on him. It's only a matter of time before more know. What is your plan if you're attacked for being what you are?
What is your plan for being attacked yourself, should anyone ever attack you?
Well, yes, but that's the point.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that I will turn this back upon you. You challenged me that I killed 2 citizens of Seregen because I identified them as my enemies. As though that was a wrong thing to do.
I didn't point it out as wrong.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm putting words in your mouth, but I believe there's a sort of implication there. I made the determination that they are my enemies, not made any determination they are enemies of the Crown. Although, again, I will say one of them was an agent of the demon, but I'm splitting hairs here. The point being here is that there is a hierarchy of law and order that we report to. And there's a sense that judgment should be passed through appropriate chains. And I agree with that. I surely do. But it has always been my what's the word that I want? Nature, I suppose, to defend my life. I offered to you when I presented this information that if you feel I must be done away with, you are the authority, and I bow to that authority. I will not fight you on that. That is something I swear. If the throne of Seregen decides that I, Ulrich Oakenhearth, should be put to death, then I accept the will of the throne. And Ulrich, of course, will feel that very, very dumb arrangement. But he is not especially hungry right now, having eaten in the last 24 hours.
Are you saying that you just made an oath?
I believe he did. He said, I swear
that
if the throne decides, then he will abide by that decision.
Okay.
I think there's probably a part of him that is absolutely enraged by that. There's a part of him that feels not only that he should survive, but also that he should, rule. So this is, fight. But right. Again, he is more human in this moment. So I think he would make this swear because it is the kind of thing that Ulrich would believe in. He believes very much in a top-down authority. He is lawful.
Have you been writing down these promises, by the way? might be worth starting.
I have, but I'm struggling to find where I put them.
Feel free to at least put them into the Discord channel for you. I don't think you've used it that much, so it'd be pretty easy to find.
Yeah. But so that's the thing. I could swear that I had put it there. But
yeah, feel free to put that in. You get a message from the party at this point, stating that Carl's going to be teleporting the group to 3 points to communicate with the other 2 factions that they've found a way to expedite the journey to the tear. Roger says we can be there with some of the army tomorrow.
Yeah, Ulrich will express that that's really great to hear. Will wonder to himself why, what changed to allow such a mass teleportation. But he won't talk. He'll talk with them about that in person.
Mm-hmm.
And Ulrich will just say, I'll leave you to this, Marius. I apologize for giving you more to worry over. But, again, my fate is in the hands of our kingdom.
He says quietly, "Thank you, Ulrich."
Thank you. And he makes his way out.
All right, I'm gonna kiss Gabrielle goodnight, but I have one more thing to do with you. She just said she's going to bed, so I'll be right back.
Yep.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
So that was some fun conversation. Excellent work.
Thanks.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just said thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise.
All right. So Roger kind of pulls that statement back slightly and says, "Well, some of us tomorrow. The whole army would take about 12 days."
Okay. I mean, that's still impressive. So Ulrich will inquire more after that
Sure.
Later on, but doesn't have to inquire about that right now.
Yeah, it's a lot to get into. But Carl's gonna teleport us to 3 points. I presume you'd like to talk to Necrata?
Yeah. Ulrich will agree to that. It makes the most sense.
Okay. So the group reunites, kind of gathers things together, and then basically has the group come into the wagon, but he stays outside and closes the door. There are windows on by the front door, so looking out, you can see that the wagon begins. Well, everything around the wagon begins to grow larger and larger and larger until the wagon's a bit smaller than it was. At that point, Carl casts a spell and teleports with the cart and himself. And the world becomes back to normal as the cart grows back to size. Well, it looks like it worked, Yarvik. Excellent thinking there. And you find yourself at 3 points.
Lovely. Ulrich will thank Carl for the ride. I'm sorry. Who was it? Who made this
Carl.
decision?
So Yarvik came up with the idea.
Yarvik. Okay, he will tell Yarvik that was great thinking with portals.
Roger gives you 2 of the sending scrolls in case you need to contact Reynard as well as the Queen. He's got the final remaining scroll, but also he's bringing Jordan along with him.
Okay.
At this point, you and him split off. He goes northeast and you go southeast. You can see everyone kind of within this space, a distance off from each other, but like you're all visible to each other. So you can kind of see Jordan and Roger over yonder, maybe like half a mile or maybe a little bit less. And then the rest of the group is back toward the Seregen side.
Awesome. Yeah. Oric will make his way to chat with the Queen.
Okay, so you've got 25 words. Make them count.
Awesome. Just gonna think here.
Sure.
So it'll be 12 days until the rest of the army, our military comes here.
No, so the military will be able to be teleported to the Tear by Carl over the course of 12 days. Basically, he's going to have to spend a certain amount of spells that he only has 1 of per day to accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be able to go there with a group, come back the next day, go there with a group, come back the next day, so on and so forth, right? So, yeah.
Okay. So that'll be at the Tear, and remind me, we're meeting. Are we meeting at 3 points, or are we meeting all just marching directly? Like, we're marching all directly to. No, just we're all going to meet at the Tear.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Then, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. Jeez, I don't know. I'm gonna use all of 25. I feel silly for this, but I'm just gonna say 20. 12 days until Seregen reaches the Tear. We will uphold our oath. How will your forces feed while at war?
Did you tape that out?
I did, yeah.
Okay, you did. Okay, perfect. Just so that I can garner my response too. "12 days until Seregen reaches the Tear. We will uphold our oath. How will your forces feed while at war?" The message back is not the sultry voice that you're used to, but an intense one and gritted. "Orcus has come, and we have denied him. He and a horde attack Mania. We make him pay, but have paid also. Will you come?"
Well, I mean, that will require a second sending.
Yep.
I mean, before he responds, Ulrich will check in. How far away? Oh, it was less than a mile that the
Yes.
rest of the group was. Yeah, so he'll just telepathically talk to Roger and inquire what the situation is.
Okay. Roger does not respond.
He will walk over to Roger and check on him.
Okay, so you're rushing over to Roger to kind of. So you can look over at him and you can see Roger is kind of speaking and with Jordan and whatnot. So they are definitely still alive, but you realize that the wall is probably interfering.
The wall, yeah.
Okay.
So he'll walk over and speak to him.
Got it. All right. So if you're going to interact with Roger and not do any more interaction with the Queen at this juncture, then this is where we're going to end the session with you finding out this knowledge. And then you can, act that out in live.
Cool. Okay.
So, yeah.
Makes a lot of good sense.
What was that?
That makes a lot of good sense. That makes good sense.
So yeah, that is our one shot for tonight. Some excellent conversation and some great revelations. I'm really glad that we did this. Hope you are too. And you're back in the tunnel again. But before we end, I do want to say thank you everyone who watched. Thank you for being here. We will be back for our normally scheduled session, not the 11th like originally planned, so we'll figure out what that date is going to be. But next time, we have a decision to make. And we'll see what that decision is. Thanks for joining us, and Ulrich, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, still tunneled. But I think I heard the thank you so I'm assuming it was thank you for having me. And if not, then you can correct me at some point. But thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. So long.